Shadow Primeape gonna overfarm, fire off the close combat on the CMP tie, looking to remove for Alligator from the field of play. Down goes Gator, getting one shot vanquished, back to its Pokeball, out comes Virizion, and there is no messing around, going straight for the next close combat. Close combat, force the opponent's final protection, the opponent then farms up, play to the CMP tie, they do not win. Shadow Primeape absolutely popping off. Welcome back to the channel. Today is a very exciting day as I get the absolute pleasure and privilege to showcase my rank 1, fully maxed out, level 51, double legacy Shadow Primeape in the Open Ultra League. This angry little monkey was one hell of an investment. To max this thing out all the way to level 51, it cost me 660,000 stardust. It also was the very long and slow boring grind to best buddy it. The investment into this thing did not stop there. It also required 2 elite TMs to give it Karate Chop and Rage Fist respectively. Was all that investment worth it? Well, I'm an OG. I've played this game all the way since pre-season for like 4 or 5 years now. And I'm going to go out there and say this is without a doubt the best Pokemon I have ever powered up. We're going to let the battles do the talking. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we're going to be leading my second rank 1 on the team, my rank 1 Shadow Drapion into Zygarde, aka Optimus Prime. My team hits very hard, it's pretty spammy and very squishy. The opposing Pokemon is the absolute opposite of that. We land the crunch, make the pivot into Primeape, looking to catch a Bulldoze. Shadow Primeape is one insanely glassy Pokemon. However, we tank a Bulldoze pretty well as it's a garbage move. This is the very first battle I've ever used this Pokemon. I go straight for the close combat. Gastrodon gets rocked deep into the red. An argument could have been made. I could have went for the Rage Fist first, but I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I had one thing in mind. YOLO that nuke as often as I can, and you're going to see close combat land and thrown time and time again. I send out Annihilape, go for the one shield. Full counter farm down. I've already got a good feeling. I know what's in the back, as Purple Koga posted this team. It's going to be licky, far too thicky, so an energy lead Annihilape is going to be a very big problem. The opponent reveal, they certainly have Lickitung in the back, shielding Zygarde when they really didn't need to. We make the pivot back into Drapion, baiting out Lickitung. We go for the crunch, crunch goes unshielded, but the super spammy Scorpion says there's plenty more of where that came from. The second crunch rocks them below half health and gets the defense drop. The opponent is going to need to Earthquake to remove me from the field of play. The opponent fire off the body slam, which simply doesn't get the job done, and opt to throw back to back. The opponent now finds herself nothing more than free farm. We send out Annihilape. Back out comes Zygarde. We've already seen Bulldozes garbage. The opponent throw the Bulldoze. I'm not going to shield the first, as the opponent would do even more damage with the second. Annihilape's bulk going to be put to the test. When we're talking about IVs, this one's dreadful. It's like an 11... 8-6 or something. It's the worst member of the team, but it's still going to have enough to power its way through this team, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we see Steelix in the lead. Believe it or not, even Shadow Primeape cannot one-shot this very annoying Steel Snake, because Mon and Ultra League are just ridiculously fixed. We stay in, fire off the Aqua Tail on the CMP tie. We can tank the Break and Swipe, no problem whatsoever, and it's time to make that pivot into Primeape to see what the best fighting type counter is. Out comes Drifblim, a ghost and flying type that triple resist fighting, but Primeape, with access to that Rage Fist, more than puts in work. I've actually used this team with the regular variant of Primeape. They're able to tank both Rage Fist, and you're never ever going to triple resisted Karate Chop farm them down. You can already see the advantage of running a Shadow variant of Primeape. They're forced to shield the second one. I can then shield up the Icy Wind and force the opponent all shields down. This, of course, is a Primeape showcase, but when shields are down, a Shadow Annihilape is an absolute monster. I send back out Drapion to operate as the damage sponge. Of course, we get one turn bring in, denied of our Poison Sting because this game runs like absolute shit. But it is what it is. We overfarm, fire off the crunch, removing the balloon from the field of play, and it is Annihilape time. Out comes Virizion. We can easily tank one Leaf Blade. I've actually got a much better variant of Annihilape that I might look to build at some point, but I quite like my attack weighted one. We tank the Leaf Blade, fire off one counter and the Rage Fist. We're then going to shield up this next Leaf Blade. Leaf Blade will do more than a Psychic Fangs, as Leaf Blade, one of the best moves in the game. The opponent very much in danger of getting counter farmed down. They recognise that, but it's too little too late. Back out comes Steelix. We've got that close combat locked and loaded. Hi Steelix, bye Steelix. We're going to counter farm down Virizion and take that game. Heading into the next battle, shout out this opponent also repping a Shadow Primeape. This is the only other one I saw, and I was very excited, although pretty petrified as I thought we're about to get nuked. We fire off the Aqua Tail, the opponent farming up a bucket load of energy. I think I personally would have thrown the close combat before I was able to reach the next Aqua Tail, making me make the first shield decision in the game. Like this, I'm more than happy to let go of Drapion, taking my shield advantage. I'm going to send out Annihilape, the opponent bank their energy, pivot into Gator, and I send out my own Primeape. I'm going to shield up the Hydro Cannon. Hydro Cannon, even from a non-Shadow Gator, does far too much damage as we cannot tank a hit for shit. I'm then going to overfarm, go for the close combat. The opponent looks to call the bait, they get one shot. Out comes Gastrodon. They've already seen how much a close combat does, so go for a cheeky Masturbate in session, throw the Rage Fist, forces the Protect Shield. We're able to reach the close combat. Going to be very close to picking up that one hit KO, leaving them on a fraction of HP. We come in, counter farm down. The opponent has got a Rage Fist, but one isn't lethal, so we're going to tank the damage. The counter sneaks through, and we take a very quick game. GG's that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see Malamar on the lead. The opponent say switches into Zygarde, and we send out Primeape. Of course, one close combat. Despite Primeape over this monstrous attack stat, will come nowhere near close to knocking out. So we are going to fire off the Rage Fist first, vamping up our attack. At this point, I'm thinking I can probably shield once. The opponent actually go for a crunch, which feels super bad, and then look to farm up to the double CC. Is Primeape attack weight enough to one-shot Zygarde from here? The first close combat forces the Protect Shield. Come on, trainer, you survive, I promise. The second close combat sneaks through the Protect Shield, and just like that, switch advantage is ours. The opponent sends out Malamar, then make the pivot into Stunfisk. We're going to fire off the Aqua Tail, force some chip action, and then go into our Annihilape. After landing the Aqua Tail, you know the drill. Annihilape isn't all that complicated sometimes. You're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 counters, throw the Rage Fist, and look to boost through everything. Rage Fist wouldn't be lethal from here, but if the opponent tank it, they're in danger of getting counter farm down. The opponent invests that Protect Shield. I know Drapion is my win con. We do survive any one move. The opponent go for the discharge, which does hit slightly harder, then make a heads up play, looking for the snipe. However, all they catch is the work of Annihilape. The boosted Rage Fist doesn't do all that much damage, to be honest. However, it does put them in a range where Drapion should be able to land a crunch and Poison Sting farm down afterwards. The opponent throw the superpower, debuff on their own defense, meaning this crunch will certainly get the job done. We overfarm, fire off the crunch, picks up that one shot. Back out comes Stunfist. They recognise they're going to get Aqua Tail to the face and concede the match. GG's that opponent. In the next battle, we see G-Weezy. Shadow on Shadow Crime. This matchup's pretty terrifying, and Overheat comes very close to one-shotting. What makes this even more terrifying, if we do get overheated to the face, my backline is going to have a tough time of getting rid of this G-Weezy, especially at that health range. But thankfully, I know Shadow Pokemon love to get baited. So we call the bait, enabling us to reach the next Aqua Tail, and that is now a manageable range for me to come in with either Pokemon. The opponent does go for the overheat, even a player up would have got the job done. We pivot into Primeape, and out comes Moltres. I look to fire off the close combat on the CMP side to a potential Brave Bird. Our quick moves are actually desynced, and it looks like my move didn't register. The opponent actually throw the payback. I wasn't expecting that, but it is what it is. We go for the close combat, sneaking it through the Protect Shield. It isn't quite lethal, but that's even better for me, meaning we're able to Karate Chop farm down, leaving with the double Rage Fist good to go. G-Weezy re-enters the field of play. I look to remove it immediately. The opponent invests that Protect Shield, revealing they must be weak to fighting in the back. We go for the next Rage Fist, which also goes shielded, so we pivot into Annihilape and look for that counter farm down. The counts to overheat are 766. This is enough for an overheat. The opponent go for the Brutal Swing. Why? I have no idea. But at this point, it's irrelevant. Out comes Yveltal to make a very brief cameo appearance. Annihilape also getting on the close combat boom action. One shot on him, and that's going to be all she wrote. In the next battle, we see Clefable in the lead. Drapion, without access to Sludge Bomb, doesn't actually have the best matchup here. According to PvPoke, you lose this in the one shield scenario. However, what I always do is build up to 6, look to force myself a shield advantage, and then don't shield anything in return. We do survive one Moonblast. It's even better if the opponent go for the Swift. A Swift does pretty much nothing, and we're able to fire off an Aqua Tail, getting them into a manageable range for either fighter. The reason I always farm up to 6 before throwing my first charge move is looking to fake a sludge bomb. I haven't got it, but the opponent doesn't know that, and you've always got to fake it till you make it. The next time the opponent fires off the Moonblast, remove me from the field of play. I send out Primeape, fire off the Rage Fist. Rage Fist isn't quite lethal. It leaves them on a fraction of HP. Out comes Gator. I go straight for the close combat. Close combat picks up that one shot. Get that silly Feraligatr off my screen. Primeape claims yet another victim. Out comes Heliolisk. We make the pivot into Annihilape and the opponent concedes the match. In the next battle, we found ourselves a problem. Drapion on Aquatel and Crunch are pretty bad into Tapu Fini, or the opponent does me a huge favour, pivot now into Malamar, and this is exactly where the team wants to see it. I go straight for the Crunch. Unfortunately, no defense drop, but it still does a lot of damage. Hopefully the opponent's superpowers here, meaning the next Crunch will be lethal. Holy smokes, I just got Hyper Beam to the face. We've got to give credit to this opponent. Also throw in nukes, you love to see it. We fire off the Crunch, forcing the opponent's first Protect Shield and make the pivot into Primeape. I fire off the Rage Fist, force the opponent's final Protect Shield and Tapu Fini re-enters the field of play. Fairies should be good into fighters, but Primeape might have a little something to say about that. I'm now double boosted. Tapu Fini's at half health. This move's resisted. Do you think it's going to look resisted? Nope, it's not. Get that Tapu Fini off my screen. They get one shot by a resisted move. Malamar re-enters the arena. We're just going to shield once, counter farm down, and whatever's in the back is about to get boomed. We get that full counter farm down. Whatever's in the back doesn't want the smoke, and the opponent concedes the match. In the next battle, we see the Shadow Drapion mirror. How I like to play this mirror is I just farm up, allow the opponent to throw a charge move, and then make the pivot into my Primeape. The opponent fire off the Aquatail, we get a huge amount of lag. I believe the opponent's dry here, so all that really happens, we got denied a Karate Chop, which is pretty unfortunate, but it kind of is what it is. Out comes Malamar. I'm just going to YOLO the close combat. Close combat, oof, big damage. I was trying to double up. Unfortunately, I was unable to get there, but clearly one was more than enough to get some very much needed chip damage. We send out Drapion. The opponent fire off the superpower. I'm going to overfarm, fire off the Aquatail, because Aquatail is going to be lethal, and then make the pivot into Annihilape. Drapion re-enters the arena. As there a Shadow of Crunch, would do around half my health, so I'm going to respect it with a Protect Shield. The opponent fire off the Crunch, then send out Mandibuzz, and things are starting to look very, very rough. There's no point in going straight for a close combat here, as close combat hits for neutral will be nowhere near enough to knock out, and if I close combat, the Snarls and Aerial Aces will do even more damage. As I'm not debuffed, I'm able to tank one, and I have boosted up my counters. At this point, I'm going to try and sneak the close combat through the Protect Shield. Unfortunately, the opponent puts up that Protect Shield, and I'm thinking, oof, this looks rough. Surely there isn't a wink on. I'm then going to farm up, make a savage CMP sack swap. Very, very difficult to pull off. Landing the Aquatail, putting them in a range where potentially we can counter farm down. It's all down to Annihilape to clean up. The opponent pivots back out into Drapion. I'm going to farm up. That isn't CMP. The opponent's kind of obliged to shield this move. The opponent doesn't recognise we're doubled up. We've got a slim chance. It's going to be counter versus Snarl. Come on, Annihilape. Get there. Get there. Oh, unfortunately, unable to counter farm down. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, we see PvPoke's number 1 ranked pick, Shadow Gator. The opponent going to strike first, firing off the Hydro Cannon. I'm going to pause a turn, look to return fire with the Crunch, hoping it lands on the intended target. The issue here is, when you pause, you actually stop seeing the visual updates, which is kind of annoying. As the opponent overfarms, rather than spamming it on 5, I am obliged to shield this, but the opponent will get Karate Chop farm down if they do not pivot. The opponent does make that pivot into Tentacruel. Another thing that resists fighting, but Primeape just puts in so much work against absolutely everything. We're already at the second Rage Fist, and Tentacruel, despite being one of the thickest mon in the format, already finds itself below half health. We're able to fire off the next Rage Fist on the CMP tie, forcing our Protect Shield back. If you are going to run this team, don't get too horny investing all your shields on Primeape. Annihilape also needs shields to function. So Primeape has done its job. We elect to let go down, send back out Drapion. The opponent makes a nice catch onto Sandslash. The Crunch gets the defense drop and blink, and you might miss it. Annihilape counter farms down in 5. The opponent doesn't reach a charge move, and that's pretty much game over from there. Heading into the next battle. Toughly, we make the pivot into Primeape. Out comes a Charmer. Charmer should be good into fighters, right? You're going to see Primeape just put in so much work. Close combat does more than Rage Fist, but only reaching one more move, so I'm going to throw the close combat again. This is resisted damage, and look how close that 0 shield matchup is. It is ridiculous. I send out Drapion, look for the poison thing farm down, and the opponent actually concedes the match. Why? I have no idea. We've got 100 battles, so perhaps the opponent was like, yeah, we've had enough of this one, I'm going to move on. Speaking of moving on, we're also moving on. Drapion into Shadow Gator. So again, we're going to tank the move, pause, look to ensure the crunch lands on its intended target. The opponent actually makes the catch onto Virizion. That feels bad. We're going to pivot into Annihilape. Annihilape can tank one Leaf Blade, and it's time to start vamping up. Using a 2-turn move into a 3-turn move. You want to throw at 1, 4 or 7. I receive the Rage Fist after 4 counters, which is perfect. Rage Fist goes unshielded, and I've got a decision to make. Do I want switch advantage? I'm thinking we're boosted, why not? Excuse me, quickly checking who was calling me. Sorry Wade buddy, I'll ring you back after this battle. Back out comes Gator. The issue here is the opponent is going to be able to fully Shadow Claw farm me down. I could of course pivot back out, but I'm thinking I'm double boosted. I want to get off as much boosted counter damage as I physically can. So the opponent made a nice catch earlier, and it's time to return the favour. We send out Primate. The opponent's at 8. It's straight 5s to the Hydro. So we're going to shield the first, throw 2 karate chops, make the catch, back onto Drapion, returning that favour. Mr. Opponent, I did not forget. I really need to hope whatever's in the back is something that's one shot by a close combat. It's Hippowdon, we farm up to the double CC, lose con, would be me baiting for no reason whatsoever. The opponent looks to call the bait, which would be their win con. We're not baiting, we karate chop farm down Gator and take that game. In the next battle we see Drapion in the lead. The opponent say switches into Steelix, and I make the pivot into Annihilape. I'll be honest, far too slow. The opponent fire off the Psychic Fangs. I'm never going to shield the first move, as subsequent ones will do more damage, and it comes with a 100% chance to debuff my defense. We fire off the Rage Fist, forcing the opponent's Protect Shield. I know I can force the opponent all shields down or maintain that super positive alignment. However, I'm honest, I don't even need switch, as if we force the opponent all shields down, we all know Primate can one-shot the opponent with 2 Rage Fists. With that in mind, I'm not waiting out my clock. Come on trainer, send back out that balloon, we just want to talk. Drapion re-enters the arena. As we got an energy lead, the opponent isn't even going to be able to reach a charge move. The first Rage Fist does a solid chunk of damage. The next one will be removing them from the field of play. Primate now double boosted with a shield to hide behind. Out comes Cabalion, and you already know this game is signed, sealed and delivered. Perhaps the opponent forgot I still had a Protect Shield, which I invest here. We look to fire off the close combat. The opponent doesn't want to get boomed, and they last second concede the match. In the next battle again, we see the Drapion mirror. So we're going to stay in, allow the opponent to throw first. Then we're going to bank our energy and make the pivot into Primate. It's interesting the opponent threw Crunch here. So that to me suggests they've got Sludge Bomb. If the opponent farms to 6, which they have, I am going to respect it. Has the opponent faked it till they made it? No, they have not. They actually forced in the Sludge Bomb, so I'm very glad I shield. The opponent then makes a catch. Catch the close combat onto Virizion, but that is not a move they tank particularly well. Again, Rage Fist wouldn't be lethal, so we're going straight for the kill shot. Close combat sneaks through 2 Protect Shields and Virizion straight in, and straight out comes Steelix. Trainer, I'd shield. I promise I'm not baiting. The opponent again doesn't shield. Massive damage. We send that Annihilape. 1 counter removes Steelix from the field of play, and that is another very quick game. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow Gator once again in the lead position. The opponent is going to overfarm before firing off the Hydro Cannon. This time, I'm really hoping the opponent doesn't make a catch. We do pause. Again, I didn't see the Shadow Claw, but you can see that no message with, I don't know, say Virizion was switched in. So we know the crunch landed on its intended target. We then make the pivot into Primate. And I'm going to shield this Hydro Cannon. Unfortunately, a Rage Fist wouldn't be lethal, so we are going to have to full send a close combat. The opponent probably thinks Rage Fist and will survive. What surprise trainer, I'm not baiting once again. Virizion enters the arena, and we're continuing the trend of YOLOing close combats. The first one forced to Protect Shield. The opponent then gets greedy, farming up, playing to the CMP side. They do not win. Primate will not be denied. Primate absolutely popping off, rocking this Virizion deep into the red health range. Leaf Blade picks up the one shot. The opponent's now 1 double kick off the Sacred Sword / Leaf Blade. I'm anticipating them being on Sacred Swords. We throw 1 Poison Sting, try and make a double resisted catch onto Annihilape. It looks like they might have Leaf Blade and Stone Edge, so we don't make the Sacred Sword catch, but the opponent concedes the match regardless. In the next battle, we see Gastron on the lead. We say switch into Primeape, and out comes Cresselia. Surely this is a matchup Primeape isn't good into. You can see Cresselia's bulk on display. The first Rage Fist doesn't do much, meaning the second one certainly won't pressure a shield. The opponent at a potential Moonblast. We're going to look to call the bait. The opponent throw the Grass Knot, which is huge for me. Primate will actually obtain a shield advantage against one of the bulkiest mon in the format, which is ridiculous. It looks like my rank 1 Primate might actually reach yet another Rage Fist. The opponent gets scared, snipe with a Mud Slap, which is great for me, meaning Drapion no longer has to see this very annoying snail. We send that Annihilape, the opponent bait with a double resisted body slam. That is savage. This one is enough for an Earth Power. I correctly shot the Earth Power, but now I have no shields to hide behind, and I find myself back in a problematic spot. I go for the Rage Fist, go for a slight undercharge. The opponent did bank a charge move on Cresselia, so we make the catch back onto Drapion, saving our Annihilape for the endgame. This is a Future Sight Grass Knot Cresselia as well, which is pretty crazy with all the darks and dark poisons running around. Out comes Walrein, and this looks like a very, very tough game to win. The opponent is going to reach the Earthquake, one Poison Sting before we reach the next Crunch. Of course, I already know Cresselia is going to get the final Protect Shields. We need the perfect undercharge. I need to undercharge, counter farm down, and double Rage Fist to Energy Dry Cresselia. You can see I fall just short. The opponent survives on invisible HP. Unfortunately, it isn't meant to be, and the opponent is going to take that game. GG's to that opponent. And that is just about going to wrap things up for my showcase and my prized possession, my rank 1 Ultra League Double Legacy Shadow Primeape. I'm sure you'll agree, them battles were pretty crazy. Have you ever seen so many booms and so many quick games in the Ultra League? I highly doubt it. If you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. The link to our battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.